Alrighty, thank you very much for tuning in to episode 5 of Pushing the Pylon. This is your host, Jim Tannhauser, here tonight, and we got a good episode ahead for you. Big week 3 of football, huge week 3 for some of us. We're going to get into those games, obviously, like we always do. First off, however, I do want to start by saying if you are a fan of this podcast, if you've been watching the past few episodes, you like what you see, make sure to like the YouTube page, make sure to subscribe, share this video to all your social medias, follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Really huge if we help get that growth and outreach early on in this so we can keep it moving when we get big one day, very soon with your help. And I do thank you for all that have been supporting thus far. Couldn't have gotten this far without you. A lot of positive feedback, a lot of good constructive criticism out there to try to incorporate into this podcast for you all. But that's not what you're here for. You're here to listen to some football talk. You're here to listen to me talk about what we just watched yesterday, and for some of us, what we watched tonight, because we had a very interesting Monday Night Football game. NFC East rivals, hard-hitting Philadelphia Eagles traveled down to Dallas and played the Cowboys. Didn't go so well for the Eagles, however, we saw, with a final score of 41-21. The 21 points, the last touchdown for the Eagles came in garbage time as well. Just an absolute brilliant game played by the Cowboys. I mean, if they played any better, they might have scored 70, because Dak Prescott, 5 incompletions, 3 touchdowns passing for him. The efficiency is just, it's exactly what you want out of the Dallas Cowboys. When they have so much talent, you don't need your quarterback to do everything. But if he can be as efficient as Dak Prescott was in tonight's game, the Cowboys are going to go a long way this season. I promise you that. And not to mention, number 2-1. If you're not watching this by video, I have the jersey on of the player of the game from tonight. And that's number 21, that running back out of the Ohio State University, Ezekiel Elliott. 17 carries, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of those touchdowns was called back. It would have been a receiving touchdown. May have had 3 on Zeke Elliott's stat sheet. But nonetheless, even Dalton Schultz, I mean, tight end, some would say he's not even the main tight end. He's behind Blake Jarwin, a lot of people. 6 catches, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, you go down this stat sheet, it is beautiful for the Cowboys. I can't say enough about them. And I still don't even feel like the Eagles played the worst game on the planet. The poor Eagles. I mean, Jalen Hurts didn't have a good game. He definitely played a rough game. And when you're the leading rusher on your team, not your actual running back, Miles Sanders, or rookie Kenneth Gainwell, you're in for a tough time against the Cowboys, especially when they find their run game that they haven't had in the past few weeks, at least in terms of consistency. Jalen Hurts, though, 25 for 39, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. One of his throws leading up to a pick was awful, but the pick itself wasn't really all on Jalen Hurts. I would say if you're an Eagles fan and you feel distraught about the game tonight, which I'm sure a lot of them are, any division game is a tough loss for any team. But don't give up so soon on this quarterback you got. Jalen Hurts is definitely the guy for the Eagles' future. I'm saying that as a Jaguars fan, when they have Gardner Minshew waiting in the rafters or waiting wherever you want to put him, because he was inactive tonight, so he wouldn't have played no matter what. Joe Flacco was the other option. And when you have Joe Flacco in 2021 against Jalen Hurts, there's no quarterback battle. It's fun to talk about on the internet when a team's losing bad, but it's just not a real thing right now. Jalen Hurts is a guy, obviously, and no one's going to be debating that unless they do something crazy like trade for Deshaun Watson, which I don't see any reason why they would do that. Back to the Cowboys for a moment, though. I mean, not only, and no, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but before I keep going on about how much I loved how the Cowboys played, they played without La'el Collins, their right tackle, a.k.a. one of the best right tackles in the league, a.k.a. one of the worst bribers in the league. For those of you who don't know, he tried bribing the drug testing employees of the NFL, I guess you could say. That failed. I don't know how much money he offered or what, but didn't work out because it came out he did that. DeMarcus Lawrence not playing tonight. Obviously, I don't need to tell you if you watch football ever, if you know anything about any football players by name, you know the value of DeMarcus Lawrence, and you know the fact that the Cowboys, if they can continue to play good defensive games against teams like the Chargers and Eagles, and dare I say Tampa Bay week 1, I mean, they had their flaws, but it wasn't outright embarrassing. If this Cowboys team can play like that without DeMarcus Lawrence, again, watch out for these guys later in the year. I promise. Michael Gallup out. I mean, yes, he's distantly the third best receiver on the team. Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb is clearly taking over the reins as the second guy there. But not having Michael Gallup is a huge loss for the Cowboys. He tends to be consistent when he's healthy on that field. He catches the ball. He doesn't. I don't see a lot of drops from him. I also don't have the stats here in front of me to back that up, but I'd like to think Michael Gallup's a consistent receiver, and for the Cowboys to not have the three guys I just mentioned win to a division rival by 20 when that division rival is far and away the second best team in your division at the moment, with no sign of Washington or the Giants anywhere to be found in the race. It's a huge thing for the Cowboys. It should be a huge momentum boost for next week. I did have it here. The Cowboys were playing. I did want to just confirm it first before I said it. But yeah, they play the Panthers. Undefeated Panthers. We just saw them. They played great on Thursday night against the Texans. They're going to be staying against another Texan team here with Dallas. That's going to be a fun one next week. I would say that the key to that game is how many points the Panthers score, because if they don't score over 25, 28 points, I don't think they win that game. I can see them losing the game if they score 30 points or so. But if they don't score even 25, they're not going to be in that ball game. And I'm confident and comfortable saying that. The way we've seen the Cowboys offense just mesh over the past, I want to say 2 weeks, but if you just want to say tonight's game, that's fine too, because my God, there's not enough good things to say about it. Just a fantastic game from the boys. And the internet will have to rest for a week without their Cowboys jokes. And they'll have to pick on someone else. One team they may pick on, and this transition absolutely kills my heart to make, but the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars lost this week 31-19 to the Arizona Cardinals, a team that I think is one of the best teams in the league, performance-wise for sure, potential-wise for sure. I do think they can go out and win that NFC West. We've talked about that in past episodes. Toughest division in football out there? Probably. Can they win that division? Definitely. A lot of stiff competition, especially we've seen over the weekend. The Rams, the Rams can go steamroll everybody if they can beat Tampa, right? But sticking to Arizona here, I don't think the Cardinals even played all that great. I hate to say it, which makes the Jaguars keeping it close and still losing make it look even worse. But 31-19, I definitely expected, one, the Cardinals to drop at least 40, and two, I didn't expect the Jaguars to hit over 10. So that's a win-win right there as a fan. I'm not big in the moral victories at all. I actually hate the whole, grasping at straws to try to be happy about a week. Hey, you lose. But this week actually tried to make me, challenge that philosophy, because I was very proud of the Jaguars. Probably had their best defensive performance to date, which sounds weird when you give up 31 points, but yeah, you're going against a high-powered offense like the Cardinals, and with a rookie quarterback, he made a few mistakes. Trevor Lawrence threw one interception that off his tight end's hands right into the defense. I mean, nothing you can do there, but there's definitely plenty of room for error. But for the Cardinals to not run away with this game, for DeAndre Hopkins, a player who has torn up the Jaguars many times in the past as a member of the Houston Texans, was held to 3 catches for 21 yards. And that's without any big Jaguars cornerbacks, being on the field. One of them that was out, C.J. Henderson, first-round draft pick, young star, supposed to be. Anyway, if you didn't watch the news, you would know that he is no longer on the team after this game. He has since already been traded to the Carolina Panthers. Dan Arnold and a third-round pick are coming to Jacksonville. Fifth-round pick is going with C.J. Henderson to Carolina. But even, he wasn't playing on Sunday when he was a member of the roster still. And they contained D-Hop to, a stat line like that. It's impressive. I just wish they won the game so you could actually sit here and talk about it and be proud of it without sounding like over-optimist in terms of being happy about a loss. One thing I can be happy about, and no one will ever take it away from me out there, is the kick 6, one of the coolest plays I've seen the Jaguars have in many years. Maybe since the Hail Mary David Garrard had against the Texans in 2010 or 2011, whatever it was. But before halftime, you had the Cardinals, they have Prater as their kicker, going for an NFL record, which, spoiler alert, we actually saw the NFL record being broken in a different game. We'll talk about that after, but Prater came in for what I believe was a 65-yard attempt. It looked good. It definitely looked good. It fell slightly short right by the back of the end zone. Jaguars player by the name of Jamal Agnew was there to return it. For those of you who don't know, Jamal Agnew returned a kickoff last week against the Broncos. But, you're catching a kickoff or a field goal attempt in the back of your end zone right before halftime. Yeah, you may run it out, but good luck, getting far or anything. He ran 109 damn yards to the house and gave Jacksonville its first lead since week 13 or week 15, whenever it was, of last year. That moment, the people that were watching that game, and we know how that moment was for me, will definitely go down as a top 10, I'll say regular season at least, top 10 regular season moment as a Jaguars fan that I ever saw. Shout out to Jamal Agnew for that. You're the man. You make a lot of us Jaguar fans out there very happy regardless of a loss, because that's highlight film we'll get to watch forever. That's an NFL tying play or NFL record tying play right there for the longest play in history. 109 yards. So that Jaguars Nation has that forever. Thank you for that, Jamal Agnew. 20 years from now, when that play's running on SportsCenter, no one's going to remember the score of the game. Just like no one remembers the score of the game where Derrick Henry stiff-armed 417 Jaguars on his way to the end zone downfield. But everyone remembers the play, and that's what counts. So shout out to you, Jamal Agnew. Please keep doing it. And the Jaguars hopefully will repay the favor and play a full, complete game on all sides of the ball and get a W next to one of your special teams plays. Not much to say about Trevor Lawrence. Like I said, I'm fine with how he's playing. I mean, go out there and make your mistakes, rookie, because I don't think any realistic fan is expecting a Super Bowl this year. So as long as he can go out there and just keep slinging it, he had 22 for 34, just under 220 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Like I said, one of those interceptions, nothing he can do. Jacob Hollister just completely duffed the ball right up for an easy pick out of his hands. But it is what it is. End of the day, the stat line sticks with Trevor, and I'm fine with it because he's a rookie. He's going to make these mistakes. He's leading the league in interceptions right now with another rookie, Zach Wilson. And I think any realistic fan will go out there and tell you that Zach Wilson is looking a lot worse, or at least his situation is looking a lot less comfortable than Trevor Lawrence's is for him. I think you can watch Jacksonville and see there's a lot there to fix. There's a lot there to improve. But Trevor Lawrence is the talent as the individual, as the prospect, is not debatable. He's all there. And the only thing that can stunt his career or his development is the franchise that he is a part of sabotaging that. And I really hope they don't, because if they do, then the Jaguars will be just never able to get the rebuild going if they can't now. Because you have the quarterback that people have raved about is one of the greatest in decades, up there with the John Elways, the Andrew Luck, in terms of potential. So we'll see. As a Jaguars fan, yeah, short term it sucks. Long term, I'm staying optimistic. Next week, it's a short week for Jacksonville. Thursday night, they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who unfortunately look really good right now. Bad time for Jacksonville to catch them. But that's okay. On the road, we'll see it. We'll see Trevor Lawrence against Joe Burrow. There's going to be a lot of memes up on the good old Twitter about both of these teams probably making dumb plays and being bad and sucking as franchises. And that's okay, because I'm going to be sitting there Thursday Night Football enjoying it, because I'm grateful for any football. I don't care if it's on a Thursday, a Monday, a Saturday, a Sunday, anywhere else you want to put it. It's good. And when you put my favorite team as one of the teams playing, you got me reeled in. Be sure to be on the lookout for the video I will post, similar to how I did last week for the Panthers game. Give predictions for the game. It's going to be tough. I was saying this to my family that do watch the Pushing the Pylon videos. I feel like my bias is going to screw me either way in this. I'm undefeated on primetime Thursday Night Football game picks so far. In this case, though, I feel like if I pick Jacksonville, I'm just picking them because I'm a fan, I'm a homer. But if I pick against the Jaguars, I feel like I'm kind of just picking against them, one, because I don't want to be a homer, but two, because the past 2 weeks I've picked against them and it's been the right pick. So why wouldn't I keep doing that? I'm here to give you correct picks. I'm not here to tell you how big of a Jaguars fan I am every week by picking them. So we'll see. I don't know yet. The line is not finalized. There's a long time between now and Thursday. So stay tuned for that, because I do have a few player props that I'm watching, and I love the numbers on them, and I think you're going to be surprised by how quick those numbers go over very quickly in those games. So you're going to have to be on the lookout for those videos as well. Going into week 3, I was trying to figure out how to talk about the whole week of football on this podcast. I don't want to make this a 2-hour podcast where I talk about every single game in depth, and no one wants to sit here and listen to that. They have SportsCenter for that. If you're here for how we do a special spin on these games in terms of how we talk about them, what we're looking for. So we're going to keep that going. In the meantime, please, if there's a team or a topic or a player that you feel like Pushing the Pylon has not talked about or has been dodging, let us know, because I want to talk about them. The audience out there, if you're watching, a lot of feedback on these episodes. I want to hear about how wrong or right my opinions are, and what you think, why you think I'm wrong or right, because that's what this is all about. You had the Thursday night game, which fantastic showing for Sam Darnold and crew, regardless of Christian McCaffrey being hurt, regardless of J.C. Horn being hurt. The Panthers looked very impressive that game. They did go against Davis Mills, a rookie quarterback, who definitely looked like a rookie quarterback. But they were able to overcome those injuries. They were still able to win in a relatively dominant fashion. And now they have C.J. Henderson to replace J.C. Horn in the meantime. I think that's a good addition for what they gave up. They don't need Dan Arnold, unfortunately. All respect to Dan Arnold. I hope he does great for Jacksonville, but they have Tommy Tremble over there. Sam Darnold's not made or broken by Dan Arnold. As cool as the Darnold to D. Arnold connection is, or was, I should say, it wasn't needed. Carolina made the right move for their team there, and they're going to be a sneaky defense against some of these NFC South opponents they'll be playing later in the year. The Buffalo Bills just absolutely mauled Washington. No defense in Washington. Not that Buffalo's offense isn't one of the best in the league. They obviously are. But, I mean, Washington just folded right up on Buffalo. They came back a tiny bit, but then they gave up the same amount of points twice over and lost by 22 at the end, 43-21. One thing I do want to mention in this game, Josh Allen, I mean, performance of the week for a quarterback, some would say definitely. 358 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Leading receiver, Cole Beasley. I mean, I think that speaks more to how good Josh Allen is when your leading receiver is Cole Beasley, and you have Stephon Diggs on your team, and you're still scoring nearly 50 points. One thing I do want to ask you out there, so make sure this is going to be a new reoccurring thing we try to do in these podcasts. I'm going to pose a question, this or that, to you all watching, and I want feedback. I'm going to post a poll on Twitter when the episode drops on Thursday. So if you're watching this, head to my Twitter right now, vote on the poll I'm about to put there. There's a good conversation with my friends and I on this, and we had opposing arguments. I want to know if I'm a lone wolf on this one, but who would you rather have? No, you know what? Not who would you rather have. Who is the better quarterback? Done. Who is better at the position of quarterback? If you're making a list of top quarterbacks in the league, which one of these two following names are higher on that list? Is it A, Josh Allen, or is it B, Kyler Murray? Let me know. Go vote on that Twitter poll. And we're going to talk about the results in episode 6 based on how week 4 football goes. Maybe one of them has a complete, crap performance and we reassess. But I think that debate is a very interesting one. I don't think either one's going to be bad. I think both could easily be future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but just an interesting debate for now. Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. Who's your guy? Who's the better quarterback? Let me know. We had the Browns and Bears, which it went about how I expected. The Bears I love Justin Fields. He's a stud. He has a lot of potential in the league, but the Chicago Bears, what did they get? 40 yards of offense? 50 yards of offense? I mean, yeah, a lot of that has to do with Fields, but even the run game couldn't get going. I'd love to know their time of possession because that is extremely concerning if it's anything. Let's see. I mean, they had the ball for 20 minutes, and the Browns had it for nearly 40 minutes. So double the time, you get outscored by over quadruple the points. A recipe for disaster. Chicago down bad right now. You had the Ravens-Lions, which this is what I wanted to get to about the NFL record. Longest field goal was broken in this game at the buzzer, may I add, by Justin Tucker, who we'll show it right here as a matter of fact. Justin Tucker, with the game on the line, now fact check this if I'm wrong, I don't believe I am, has never missed when he could win the game for his team at the buzzer, or whatever you want to call it, the end of regulation. I believe he is perfect. And he had a chance to imperfect that stat with a 68-yard field goal attempt. And I'll be damned, he hit it. He hit it all the way off the front upright, went straight up in the air, went straight in. Every Lions fan in the arena probably knew it was happening because similar to Jaguars fans, Lions fans are suckers for pain. They know when it's coming. They know when their team's going to lose. It's just about how they're going to blow it in what spectacular way. And the poor Lions had Lamar Jackson, must have been on his own 10-yard line with 4th and 19, no timeouts, something like 30 seconds left. And he got out of it. He gets out of that. He gets in the field goal range. Well, for most, Lamar Jackson didn't get in the field goal range. For his kicker, he got in the field goal range somehow. And Justin Tucker, incredible play. It's really hard to think that someone can just kick a football at an upright and get a football stadium going nuts. That's exactly what happened. Bigger than any play, bigger than any Lamar Jackson run, bigger than any defensive turnover. or defensive stop. The kick was the play of the game. And yes, you're going to see out there that earlier in that drive, a delay of game should have been called on the Ravens. If the play clock on TV was correct, we don't know. But it looked like it was clearly at 0 for a good 2 Mississippi. And then they let Lamar hike it, and he ended up getting a completed pass off because of it. Nonetheless, Ravens, 2 huge wins in the past 2 weeks. Suddenly, my Coach of the Year prediction of John Harbaugh may not be dead in the water just yet. Probably would have been if you lose to the Lions, though. That wouldn't have been a great look. AFC South matchup, we had the Titans and the Colts, 25-16 in favor of the Titans. Carson Wentz played somehow with no ankles. His stat line wasn't that nice at all. 194 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. Jonathan Taylor couldn't really get it going on the ground. Average was great. Average over 6 yards a carry, but only had 10 carries. So, not great for them there. Tannehill, fantastic game. Derrick Henry, after a slow week 1 with 50 yards, he has just absolutely turned on the Jets. 113 yards on 28 carries. The Titans are back to that philosophy of all roads lead to Derrick Henry, as it should. It's worked. It's a tried and true method that can easily get the Titans the division title this year, I would say. They're in a great position for it now. Colts and Jags both 0-3. Texans 1-2. And I don't see the Titans losing to the Texans when they play. So, good on the Titans. They're back to looking what they used to. I hate it. But professionally, for this podcast, I can act like it is cool. So, good for Derrick Henry. I'm going to have that. If you ever watch SpongeBob, I'm going to have that fake mask on with the smiley face, and I am just frowning behind it. That is me for Derrick Henry. So, congrats to you Titans fans out there. I love you, but I hate you. We had the Chargers-Chiefs. Big stand of the week goes to the LA Chargers, winning 30-24 against the Chiefs. Boy, the Chiefs have had a rough 2 weeks. They have to come back this week. They still almost did. They lost last week, lose to the Ravens. Week 1, they had to come back from 12 against the Browns. Is it a Super Bowl hangover for the Chiefs? Conversation might start going in that direction. From a pure spread perspective, they are awful in their past, I think, 15 spreads. They've only covered once. They've pushed once, covered once, and didn't cover 13 times. Ridiculous. What that tells you, in my opinion, is that Vegas, or who the spread makers will say, are preying on the people out there who just think the Chiefs are dominant and run through everybody and think it's free money to just bet the Chiefs or to pick the Chiefs. However, I said the word bet somewhere up here. Please say we do not promote betting. Just for the people who do bet, they do exist out there. Legal betting does exist. We will talk about it. That's the fun of it. But yeah, the Chargers were underdogs by a full touchdown, maybe even more, maybe 7.5. I had the Chargers for my picks if you go back and see, but I did not expect them to win the game outright. Good on the Chargers there. Justin Herbert he's the real deal if I've ever seen it. A conversation people talked about with Justin Herbert was, look at all the rookie quarterbacks this year, and only one out of all the 5 quarterbacks drafted that are playing and starting, only one has a win so far with Mac Jones. Trevor hasn't won yet. Zach Wilson hasn't won yet. Trey Lance, he's kind of won, but he didn't really play in the game anyway. So in terms of starting a game and winning, he hasn't done it yet. So last year, what I'm getting to here is that Justin Herbert was able to win multiple games with the Chargers as a first-year starter, which I think tells you that Herbert is the real deal in this league. Not saying that all 5 quarterbacks in this draft class are bust, that's for sure, but that Justin Herbert is that guy. He's the Chargers guy for many years. And all I know is that Mike Williams may have a completely rejuvenated career if Justin Herbert keeps throwing to him like he has been the past 2 weeks. 7 receptions, a $122, and 2 touchdowns. Am I looking at Keenan Allen's stat line? No, this is Mike Williams' stat line. Huge game for them. And they did it without Austin Eckler really running the ball much at all. 11 carries, 55 yards. Very timid for Eckler. He had a lot of receiving yards, to be fair, which is more of his style. But that's going to be an interesting division race in the AFC West, where the sole last place team, Kansas City Chiefs. You had the Saints and Patriots. This was a weird game. I wasn't shocked by either team if you told me beforehand they were going to win. This was a toss-up game. I'd picked the Patriots, but not surprised to see the Saints win. I mean, New England, Mac Jones is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But he is not the guy who can backpack a team that's playing bad and win a game, I don't think. Mac Jones is definitely the guy who can play mid to poorly, and his team can still win because he doesn't do enough to lose. But to do enough to win, I'm not sure, especially in a game like this. I mean, he threw 51 times. He nearly hit the 300-yard mark, but he ended up with 3 picks. And he's the leading rusher as well, so it's not exactly Mac Jones' fault. You want to call him McCorkle, let's call him McCorkle. McCorkle, I can't say that. Make myself crack up trying to say McCorkle. I mean, what a goofy name. All due respect to who named you, Mac Jones, your parents. Fantastic people. Probably wealthy beyond their wildest dreams because their son's an NFL success. But, man, we all see why you picked Mac. It's just much better sounding. McCorkle probably loses this game by 45 to the Saints. Mac Jones only loses by 15. So good on him there. And 28-13 was your final score. Falcons and Giants. This game, 2 of the worst teams in the league. Yes, I'm saying that as a Jaguars fan. Watching these 2 teams, my confidence for Jacksonville playing those teams, I mean, if they played like they did against the Cardinals, they're spanking both of these teams. I'm sorry. Giants had a good grip on the game for most of it. Ultimately blew it. Last second field goal for the Falcons. 17-14 final score. Giants have a tough schedule the next few weeks. I want to say multiple weeks, but they play teams like the Saints. They play teams like the Bucks. They later go Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. They still have to play the Cowboys. They still have to, go through their division. Very tough for the Giants. This felt like the game that they needed to win if they wanted a shot on the season. And they couldn't do it. And it wasn't because of Daniel Jones. I think he played fine. Dare I say he played good. Daniel Jones having a really good year. And his team is unfortunately not really showing anything for it. Similar to Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you're going to see it with young quarterbacks. You're going to see it with struggling teams like the Giants and Jaguars, like the Jets. It's just how it's going to be. It's the league we're in. The league is filled with so much talent at a veteran or prime level that young rookie guys are just going to get eaten up until they figure out the league, pay their dues, and turn it around. And hopefully they have good coaching development to help them along the way. Going into the Jaguars' next opponent's game from this week, the Cincinnati Bengals went and beat the Steelers. I mean, they looked very impressive, which scares me to death for Thursday. But Joe Burrow, I mean, he only threw the ball 18 times, and he had 14 completions, and 3 of those 14 completions were touchdowns. Insane stat line there. Jamar Chase, 2 touchdowns. Everyone talking about he can't see a football, taking his quote out of context to try to say he can't see a professional football to catch it. This should change that narrative. He had a great game. Najee Harris had a ridiculous game for the Steelers. Even though they lost, he was able to get 40 carries, wasn't really working on the ground. Well, guess what? He worked in the pass game. 14 catches, 102 receiving yards. That's the Najee Harris that the Steelers use that pick on. That's what they wanted. A lot of people questioned the pick, thought they could use it in a much more useful way. Didn't matter. Najee Harris is the guy that they can build around. Big Ben, on the other hand, is he the gunslinger anymore that can win games for them? I don't know. He was banged up for sure, but when isn't Big Ben banged up? He's been banged up since at least 2008, so no excuses there. 26-0, Denver Broncos over the Jets. I mean, just absolutely mauled the Jets, obviously. Weird stat line for the Broncos. I mean, I don't think anyone really popped off for them. They kind of had a very balanced game. Just a good team win, I think. But I guess you could say Tim Patrick had a good game, nearly 100 receiving yards. 26-0 was that final. You had our first and only overtime game of the week, Raiders-Dolphins. Jacoby Brissett playing for the Dolphins. Tua's out for however long. So I figured the Raiders would beat up on them. And that's exactly what did not happen early on. The Dolphins jumped out to a huge 14-0 lead. The Raiders, get a safety, get a field goal, make it 14-5, end up scoring 20 more on top of that. 25 unanswered points. Dolphins have a comeback of their own to force overtime, to which they exchange field goals. Raiders kick one more field goal, win that game. Very impressed by Peyton Barber. I mean, over 100 yards and a touchdown. With Josh Jacobs out, everyone, including me, thought Kenyon Drake was going to have the big game, especially against his former team, the Dolphins. Wasn't the case. Peyton Barber turned up for the Raiders. Big reason they won. Many people's game of the week, Rams-Bucks. Rams, very impressive win. I was not expecting them to win by double digits like they did. Thought the Bucks were going to keep it closer. There was garbage time stats, and I believe, don't quote me. Yeah, the Bucks had a garbage time touchdown at the end. So really, was even bigger than a 10-point win for the Rams, some would say. Fantastic game from the Rams, like I said before. Very scary team. You do not want to play them if your team needs a win for the playoffs late in the year, because the Rams might just eat them up. Seahawks, Vikings. Vikings win that 30-17. Kirk Cousins, very impressive game. Made me eat my words temporarily on Kirk Cousins. I tend to be a critic of him. Don't think he's as highly ranked as a lot of people have him, but he definitely proved otherwise today. 320 yards, 3 touchdowns. Without his star running back, Dalvin Cook, he had Alexander Madison step in for nearly 30 carries, had his 100 yards, 112 to be exact. Justin Jefferson had his big game we've been waiting for this year. 9 catches, $118 with a touchdown. Metcalf, same thing. He had his big game on the other side we were expecting finally. 6 catches, 107 yards, a touchdown. Both these teams, though they're both 1-2, don't be surprised if both teams are fighting for playoff spots. Late in the year, the Vikings, they're in a spot they can win their division still, for sure. The only thing stopping them is a scary, scary man by the name of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, who went down the field with no timeouts and 30-something seconds left to get set up for the game-winning field goal, which was in realistic field goal range, but still a very long field goal for Mason Crosby. Packers win 30-28, and that is with Devontae Adams having his monster game like a lot of us have come to expect. 12 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. Trey Sermon makes his debut start for the 49ers. 31 yards and a touchdown late. We talked about Monday Night Football. That was a big game, and that was about week 3 for you. A little wrapped up. I'm thinking of ways to tweak that throughout the week. Again, don't want to make this sports center. I want to make this kind of more analytical in terms of a fan's perspective of what we see out there. So, I know you've all been waiting for it. I haven't talked about it yet. Jim, where's Hit or Stand? Jim, what's Hit or Stand this week? What are you going to do for Hit or Stand this week, right? So what we're doing this week is Hit or Stand Stat Leaders Edition. I'm going to tell you the stat I'm going to tell you which player is leading in that stat through 3 weeks of football. And we will hit or stand based on if we think that is a player that can keep that lead on that stat for the rest of the year. I will hit if I think they can, stand if I think, maybe that's above his head, and we're just enjoying how well he's playing right now. Passing yards with 1,203, we have Derek Carr. Some may not be surprised by that. He is a gunslinger. He is coming into his own as a gunslinger, I should say. But right behind him, two absolute studs, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray. And even if you go a little back, Stafford and Mahomes are only a couple hundred yards out. It takes one bad week to jump them. I'm going to say stand. I don't think Derek Carr finishes the year as the top passer. Passing yards, I don't see him finishing as one. Top 5, maybe. Top 5, hot start. If he keeps it going, he can definitely be top 5. But I see a Mahomes getting up there eventually. Stafford can get up there eventually if the Rams keep winning. And then Tom Brady. I mean, what in the world is he doing? I feel like he throws for 400 yards every week. And when he is 78 years old, he should not be allowed to do that. Somebody should arrest that man. Put him in a jail cell where he can't get out and throw the ball for 500 yards. He'll still probably throw for 325 in that jail cell, in that little spot. Brady will find 300 yards of passing in there somewhere. But nonetheless, I'll say stand on Derek Carr. Interceptions. I talked about this before. Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence both have 7 interceptions through 3 weeks. Yeah, it's ugly. But what we're going to do for hit or stand, our first dealer split, because we will hit on Zach Wilson and we're going to stay on Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is not finishing the year leading the league in interceptions. I sure hope not. I'm going to say it right here on episode 5 tonight. Trevor Lawrence does not finish the year as the league leader in interceptions. Zach Wilson very well might. So we're going to hit on, like I said, Zach Wilson, stand on Trevor Lawrence for interceptions in the league. Rushing yards. Had a slow week 1, monstrous weeks of 2 and 3. And that puts him in the lead for rushing yards. 353 for Derrick Henry. You knew who I was going to say. Deal or hit me. We're not wasting any time here. Derrick Henry will likely finish the year as the leading rusher, especially if he keeps it up like this, and especially if he can do it while having a 50-yard game mixed in there, or a 60-yard rushing game mixed in there. He's competing with the likes of Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, and then a quarterback, Lamar Jackson's in there. I don't see Lamar Jackson outrunning Derrick Henry by any means. Nick Chubb's one that I'm a little concerned with. I feel like he might turn up even more very soon that we haven't seen early in the year from him. He's had good games, but he is the type of guy who can put up just these monstrous stat lines that lead the league in rushing eventually. Joe Mixon, I don't see it from him, though he is having a fantastic start to the year, but so are the Bengals. So let's hope the Jaguars slow down Joe Mixon a little bit, get Derrick Henry a little buffer zone so they can go and stop him whenever they play him, as long as he doesn't run over all of the Jaguars. We have receiving yards with 367. If you watch week 3, you know who I'm going to say here because he had a big week. That's Cooper Kupp. When your quarterback is Matt Stafford and he is in the top 5 for passing yards, naturally you're going to be in the top for receiving yards the way you're playing. I mean, 96 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns against Tampa Bay. That's a scary defense. It's a very impressive team to have that stat line against. I'm going to stand, however, though, no disrespect to Cooper Kupp, but if you're offering me Cooper Kupp or the field in terms of receivers to lead the league in yards, I'm going to take the field there. You still have the Devontae Adams of the world. You still have, hate to say it, I think DK Metcalf can get up there eventually. DeAndre Hopkins had a slow week this week. He can be up there. And you got, any of those Cowboy receivers that want the ball, if they can ball out for some weeks in a row. Cooper Kupp, I'll say finishes, we'll say top 8 in receiving yards. I feel like top 5 is a little too bold for my liking. I think he'll cool off. Robert Woods still needs some. Tyler Higbee still needs more of his. But nonetheless, I mean, Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, that duo football fans are going to wish they saw for the past 5 or 10 years. Well, I guess more like 5 years for Cooper Kupp's sake, but that Matt Stafford didn't have in Detroit. You know, post Calvin, there was really nothing fun for Matt Stafford, for none of us to watch him with. Cooper Kupp brings that excitement back, and the Rams are just going to keep winning because of it. Finally, in honor of the NFL record being broken for longest field goal, we have to talk about kicking and leading the league in field goals. Brandon McManus in Denver. Yes, he has the advantage in the mile high. Kickers love kicking there, obviously. Justin Tucker, remember, kicked indoors. He wasn't anywhere near Denver. He was indoors in Detroit. He made it happen. But Brandon McManus, I'll say hit. You know what? You lead the league in field goals. You want, regardless of where you are, I don't care if Brandon McManus is in Denver, in Foxborough, in Jacksonville, in Minneapolis. He is a top of the line kicker in the NFL. I want to say, I don't want to jinx him next week, but he is, if there is an automatic out there, he is the closest thing to it, or one of the closest things to it for sure. So that was hit or stand. In closing, I do want to mention on Thursday night, we have the line out now. The Bengals are 7.5 point favorites over the Jaguars. Again, make sure to be on the lookout when this video drops. It should have at 1 o'clock. You're watching this a little after 1 o'clock. Make sure to go check out our videos. It'll be on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. TikTok's another place we're trying to put more content on. Follow Hauser Media on there if you have a TikTok account. But we're going to have the video out for the predictions on that Jags-Bengals game. I'm going to be watching it, that's for sure, and I'm going to be hoping the Jaguars can go and get their first win of the season. Pray for me out there, please. These podcasts might be a lot more entertaining, especially in the Jags Report segment, if they can win a game. I'm sick of talking about them losing, but I'm prepared for it. I'm prepared to talk about them losing a lot more this year, and hope you're with me along the way to watch me drown my sorrow out with talking on a podcast I absolutely love. This is great. I can't wait. I'm already excited to fill up talk for next week. I sit there and watch these football games now, and I think about what I'm going to talk about on the podcast instead of just watching it and throwing the information in the back of my head and going about my week. So thank you all for letting me do that. I really appreciate it. This has been Pushing the Pylon. I'm your host, Jim Tannhauser. Make sure to enjoy week 4 of football, and we'll talk to you very soon. Till next time.